My name's Day-Elon Burns. Yes, I survived overdose, and probably a couple. I ended up being a heroin addict, an opiate addict, and the line between, as an opiate addict, as a heroin addict, the line between where we're trying to feel good and death is probably this much. I've had lots of friends die, and I work as a counselor now and had clients die, and I'm sure that before they died, they probably thought they were just did enough, that they just were high and they were just feeling good. I'm going to tell you about my first overdose, because that was really before I realized I was an addict, before I'd found heroin, and more gets to the point of how it could happen to anyone. I was in my young 20s, and I was experimenting like a lot of kids did, and at a club, and drinking a lot, and right at that point there was this thing, GHB, and someone said it was legal with some herbal ecstasy. Now I wasn't much into ecstasy, but the whole crowd was doing it, so I drank some of that. I remember being at the bar, and I wasn't feeling right, but I didn't want to let myself freak out, and I didn't want anyone to know I wasn't feeling right, so I kind of settled myself down in my head by saying, well, you're in a full bar with everybody who's pretty messed up. No one's going to notice that you're not feeling right. Just maintain. All of a sudden, I noticed that the girl that was standing next to me was looking at me and trying to say, are you okay? And so I said, I said, okay, just tell her, okay. People will stop looking at you, and you can go about your way. But for some reason, I couldn't get okay out of my body. Now, that was the last thing I remember until I was in the hospital with, doctors around me and lights, and we have a pulse, and, that kind of stuff. Which was a little, I was kind of in and out, and it was like, what'd you take? And at the time, I couldn't even say what I took, because I didn't even know what GHB was at the time. The next thing I know is a few more hours passed, and I woke up and I had a crying mother over my shoulder. Somewhere in those hours, I had been taken home. I had, had my dogs jumping all over me, had an ambulance come, been strapped to an ambulance. I don't remember any of that kind of stuff. But it gets to the Good Samaritan thing, because there was probably a dozen people that were around me that night at different times. And there was maybe one or two that even had the sense to do anything but just leave me be. And a lot of the reason was, I don't want to get involved. He'll probably be okay. I don't want to get caught by the cops. I don't want him to get caught by the cops. Luckily there was one person in the car that said, no, don't take him to the next party, because they were actually going to take me to another party and just let me crash out in the car, I guess. I mean, this is all I heard the next day, because I have no recollection at all of any of it. Luckily, there was one friend that was just brave enough to say, no, I'm putting my foot down, we have to take him home at this point. And luckily, as dumb as my girlfriend was in those days, she had just enough sense not to call the cops, because she wasn't ready to go all the way out there, but to call her mother to come over and look at me, who at that point had the bravery to call an ambulance, and they got me there within a couple minutes after kind of passing, just enough to where, I didn't do too much brain damage, I guess. I guess the jury's still out on that one. But I just, people can, they hear overdose, and they think it's just some throwaway person that doesn't have anything to offer the world, that's from a bad family, that's broke, that's in and out of prison, that's going to be a dope fiend anyway, that has nothing to add to society. But at the time I was in an upscale club near La Jolla with a lot of privileged white kids, and people were dying there too, and they're thinking about their future. There is no, overdose can hit any race, any socioeconomic status, and the people that are in denial that it can't happen to their kids or their loved ones, are in for a rude awakening when it does. So, I tell the story to anybody I can. It's the least I can do. I appreciate everyone being here tonight because this is a serious thing. Thank you very much.